Welcome to the root of all success with the Real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason has built multi-million-dollar businesses that have been featured in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine. His life's mission now is helping entrepreneurs live what he calls #the exit lifestyle. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of The Root of All Success, the Real Jason Duncan. The Real Jason Duncan.
Hey, thanks for listening today. I have a special episode that we're going to be releasing today, and I was a guest on a podcast with Shay Wheat. She hosts a podcast called Creating Powerful Impact with Shay Wheat, and I had a great conversation with her talking about finding your true purpose. And so what I wanted to do is release this today to let you hear that conversation that Shay and I had. I hope you enjoy it. And check out Shay's podcast, Creating Powerful Impact.
Welcome to another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. Your host, Shay Wheat here, founder of Grace and Ease Productions. Very excited about today's guest. The reason being is I have the real Jason Duncan with us. And I love this because he really is on a mission to empower entrepreneurs to discover their true purpose in life by showing them how to run a profitable business, get this, in under 10 hours a week. We're coming back to that. But I also want to let you know that he is the founder of one of America's fastest growing privately held companies and a leading entrepreneurial expert. He draws on his own experience as an unemployed school teacher who launched his own successful business in 2010. Now, through his mastermind program, The Exiter Club, and his internationally syndicated podcast, The Root of All Success, Jason teaches the principle of exit without exiting, which is a method for breaking free from the daily grind of business operations and living the exit lifestyle. Now, on top of all of this, and why he's on this podcast, Creating Impact, is he is really committed to helping 10,000 people escape poverty and mediocrity through entrepreneurship, and plans to start a nonprofit organization with the help of his mastermind group to further the mission. Coming to us from Nashville, Tennessee, please help me welcome JD to the Powerful Impact stage.
Hello, Shay. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. There's so many things that I want to touch on today. Entrepreneurship and exiting and how do you do all that and what does it all look like and true purpose and all of that fun stuff. But before I do that, is there anything that you would like to share that I might have missed, or just really how you feel that you are just creating impact in the world today?
Well, one of the things that is not mentioned in that bio in the intro is that I have been married almost 28 years. My wife and I will celebrate 28 years in May. And she's my best friend. We met on a blind date as teenagers, and we've been together ever since. So she's the love of my life. I love you, Christy. She never listened to my podcast, but she's awesome.
Do our spouses really know what we do?
Listen, our spouses are the last people to know that we're successful. They're just with us all the time. They have no idea.
They have no idea. True. I love it. That's beautiful. Well, congratulations on that. I would love to start with, tell us how in the world how do you exit without exiting? Like, how do you do a profitable business in under 10 hours a week?
Well, good question. So this is born out of my story. So I was an unemployed school teacher in 2010 and started a business. It turned into a very successful business. And I found myself through the help of a business coach, found out that I was trapped by my business. Now, what does that mean? Well, so most entrepreneurs, if we're honest, most entrepreneurs build businesses that require them. that require them to be present every day, that everything runs across their desk, all their, everything goes through their brain to make it happen. And that's just having a high paying job where you are your own employee. You're not really your own boss. And that was my experience. And that's the experience of millions of other entrepreneurs around the world. And so I thought, well, okay, well, the only way to escape this is to sell the business, to exit, to get out. Well, that was when the bad news dropped, is that my business wasn't worth anything, because even though we were doing multi-million dollars worth of business, we had a 7-figure bottom line, the business wasn't worth anything because the business still needed me. So if I sold it to someone, they were going to require me to stick around, which defeats the purpose of selling the business. So my alternative was, well, how do I figure out how to get out? How do I exit without exiting? And so how do I do that? So it took me about 18 to 24 months to figure out that process. And when I did, I stepped away from daily operations. I started first at, just 10 hours a week working the business, then 10 hours a quarter. And now today, literally, I do about 10 hours worth of work a year in the business. They send me papers I have to sign every once in a while, and I have a team that runs everything. And that when I did all that, my other colleagues and other entrepreneurs like, man, how did you do that? Show me how to do that, JD.
Right. Knocking on your door going, JD.
So that's what I did. That's what I did. I figured out how to do it. Now I spend most of my active hours teaching other people how to do that through my book, through my podcast, through my coaching programs, my mastermind, etc.
Sharing the wealth. I love it. That's fantastic. So, how does somebody even go about releasing control? Because I think control has a little bit to do with it, of going, how, in order for me to do this and step away and not be the center of it, how do I start doing that? So
imagine, Shay, do you have kids? You have kids?
I have fur babies right now.
You have fur babies. So I have 2 kids. I have a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old. And can you imagine for a minute going back to the day when I brought my son home, first child, and I was holding him and loving him, the smell of a baby, the whole thing about this, just such a cool experience, but then never putting him down. Never letting him learn to walk, never learning to let him feed himself. I held the spoon every time he ate. I was there to wipe his butt every time something happened. I did it all. And he's 22 today. What would he look like? He would be malformed. He would be socially awkward. He would not be able to be a contributing member to society because he requires me. And that's the way most business owners operate their businesses. It's their baby, which is fine. But your baby is going to grow up. It's going to be a child, then it's going to be a teenager, it's going to be an adolescent, it's going to be a young adult, and hopefully it's going to grow into a full-fledged adult of its own. And that is why we have to get out of the daily operations of our business. If we hold on to that baby its whole life, it is not growing into the thing that it's supposed to be on its own.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And just like having a kid, you're going to go through the growing pains of them falling and scraping their knee and having clients and customers that are not so happy with what's occurring. And you have to go and put the Band-Aid on and fix it and adjust. And do you feel that that's kind of what holds people back?
100%. It's a mindset. It's a mindset thing, because when we start our businesses, we're the best at what it is, at whatever it is that we're doing. We're really good at it. People applaud us for doing it. We get accolades for doing it. And at first it's okay. We're wearing the hero cape. We're the superhero. We save the day every day. But at some point we have to ditch the cape and let it go. And that requires mindset, the mindset of, what am I trying to accomplish here? Am I trying to build a good job? Am I trying to build a business that requires me, or am I trying to build a life?
Yeah.
And what I think people need to understand is you should build a business around your life, not your life around your business. And that's a completely different thing. So in Exit Without Exiting, in my book, I talk about what it looks like to build a business around a life. That I believe firmly that your business should provide the lifestyle that you truly desire to live. Because at the end of life, when you're laying on your deathbed, you're in the nursing home, you're in hospice, wherever it happens to be, when people start talking to you about, tell us about the old days, Granddad, you're not going to say, I wish I'd spent more hours at the office. I wish I'd have bought that new division of my company. I wish I'd have bought that new manufacturing plant. No, you would say, I wish I had more time. And that's what Exit Without Exiting gives you.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a bit of identity crisis that comes into play as well, because that's you started the business and you're the only one wearing all the hats, and you bring some team members on and then you start to release some of that. But then who are you if you're not the business anymore?
Yeah, that's something I went through. So the identity crisis was for me when I stepped away from daily operations in 2020. I didn't have a plan. Like I didn't know what I was going to do next. I had no idea what that was going to look like. I just knew that God put me on this earth for something different than just running a lighting company every single day. So I stepped out, and I think it was about a 4-month period. I was pretty lost. I didn't know who I was anymore because I'd introduced myself as the president and CEO of this company for so long. And now, while I still owned it, and I still own it today, I mean, but I'm not the president and CEO. That's not my role. How do I show up in the world? My identity had been wrapped up in that business, and it took a while. And I worked with a mentor and hired a coach to help me through that. And that is when I started the pursuit of figuring out what my purpose was. Why am I really here? What am I really wanting to accomplish? So for my clients who work with me and hire me as a coach and they join my mastermind, what I'm trying to do is to prepare them for that before it happens. So we're working on what the next big adventure is in the process of the exit without exiting.
Yeah, finding their purpose. Who would have thought when you exit without exiting, you would really also be then finding your purpose?
Yeah.
How do you go about finding your purpose?
Well, most entrepreneurs believe, as did I, falsely, that what you're doing, whatever it is, running an event production company or running a lighting company or running an ice cream shop, that's who you are and that's why you're here. And in fact, only 2% of the world population knows why they're here. And I could say with pretty good assurance that most entrepreneurs who believe that whatever it is they're doing is the thing they're here for is not true. That's not the way it is. So what you have to do is there's 4 questions that I believe you must answer in order to find your purpose. And it's not as simple as just answering 4 questions. There's certainly a lot more to it, but it starts with, what are you truly passionate about? Starts there and say, okay, what am I passionate about? What gives me energy? What do I get joy from? And what am I willing to suffer for? Because the word passion actually means willing to suffer. That's where the word comes from. That's why we call it the passion of the Christ. It wasn't that he was excited to go to the cross. He was willing to do it for a greater cause. So the passion first is one thing. So am I passionate about this thing? Yes or no? Okay. And then you go to the next question. Well, do I have the power to accomplish this thing? Do I have the power to do it? Do I have the specialized gifts? Do I have the specialized knowledge? Do I have the specialized skills to do it? And if so, okay, well, then the next question is, well, can I profit from this thing? Is there a profit to be made in it? And for most people, there is profit to be made in something, but if you've got such a weird, unique thing that there's not really any profit in it, but you do have a passion for it, there is power for it, but does the world see value in it? Does the world value what you're going to do? Can you profit from this? And maybe the thing you're looking at is a deal where it's more mission driven. It's not really profit driven. Okay. But there still has to be some sort of profit made somewhere or you can't live. You got to have money coming from somewhere. So if it's not that thing, what else can you support yourself in less than 20 hours a week in something else to pursue whatever you think is your purpose? And then the 4th question is this the legacy I want to leave? We're all going to be remembered for something when we're gone. So is this thing that we think is our purpose in life, is that what we want to be remembered for? So I think those 4 questions: do I have passion for it? Do I have the power to do it? Can I profit from it? And is this a legacy I want to leave? Those 4 questions, somewhere in the center of the answers, the yes answers to those 4 questions, is a person's purpose.
Wow. And so then tell me, like, essentially I would assume in your mastermind groups, you're pulling a whole group of people who are, 1, looking to exit without exiting, 2, looking to find their purpose and their passion going forward when that's no longer their identity. Mm-hmm. And then 3, continuing your mission of getting out there and supporting people and realizing this is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're really out there kind of helping to advocate that you deserve to be on your true purpose, not just what you thought you were doing because you're really good at it and you started a business doing it.
Yeah. A lot of people are dealing with something I call synthetic happiness. They make themselves happy in the situation they're in because they don't see any alternatives. A lot of people are in relationships that are synthetic happiness. We're in a relationship with a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, and Like we tell ourselves we're happy and because we don't know that there's an alternative. We're in jobs, we're stuck at dead ends, and we tell ourselves we're happy. We're living in a neighborhood or in a house that we don't like. We're living in a part of the country we don't like, whatever it happens to be. And we create the story that synthetically applies happiness. But in reality, if we had every option available to us, we'd not choose that option. And entrepreneurs are the same thing. And people looking for their purpose are the same thing. There's so many entrepreneurs I meet with. They say, I love my business. I love it. I love what I do. Well, given every option available to you, nothing off the table. Is this what you do every day? Probably not.
Yeah.
So you could say you love
it, right?
Yeah, you could say you love it, but like there's something else, all of us. Now, here's the thing though, Shay, is that just because you admit that whatever it is you're doing, event production for you or lighting was my thing, just because you admit that's not your purpose doesn't mean you have to abandon the thing. That you don't have to give it up. But you now need to know and have the assurance that you should be moving towards a greater purpose, which is why you can learn how to run a profitable business in under 10 hours a week with my help, so that you have time to go pursue your purpose somewhere else.
So let's touch on that a little bit. Like, tell us about the book, right?
Well,
and what you've got going on and exiting without exiting. Tell us more.
I'd love to do that. So here is what it looks like. Exit without exiting. How to exit your business without selling it and begin living the exit lifestyle sooner than you ever thought possible. It's about 216 pages. It's a book that it took me a year to write. And at first I wrote it I was just teaching, like, this is this, do this, don't do this. Here's what happened to me when I did this. And then I got about 6 months into the project and I realized that I wouldn't read this book. This is like, it's my life and my story, but it's not very interesting. So I took the next 6 months and really dove into how do I turn this into something that's interesting, where an entrepreneur, the average person would read this. And so I created these characters. I created Edward and Cheryl and James based on not only just a conglomeration of my life and my clients that I've worked with for the last several years on how to do this, and told this entire story of what it looks like through their experiences. So Edward's the first chapter. Edward's story talks about how he built the business over 5 years and it was going really good. And then 5 more years. And then he decided he wanted to get out, but he painted himself into a corner. And it talks about what he did to try to figure his way out. And I tell a story about Cheryl, stay-at-home mom, figures out, hey, I could start a side business and maybe drive a Range Rover like my friend Diane. Like I could figure that out. And she ends up building a multi-million-dollar company, sells it for gazoodles of money, and then has that moment of regret, missing 10 years of her kids' lives because she was building a business. And then the third story is that of James, who's the prototypical exit without exiting guy. And I tell his story about how he did things a little different than Cheryl and Edward did. And so you see these 3 stories interwoven throughout the entire book to show you this is what it could look like. And this is what happens if you make bad decisions and you don't want to be stuck at the end with all that regret.
I love that you're doing it through storytelling, right? And would you say, like, by doing that, it's not only helped get the message into people's like physical being a little bit more, and they're able to then take the information and actually act upon it a little bit easier than this, do this, and this?
Yeah, I think for all of us, storytelling is a better medium of learning. We always learn more by what we discover on our own than what we're taught. But if we're going to be taught, stories is the way to do it. I mean, the best teacher ever lived, Jesus, taught exclusively in stories. So all of us, I think, do better when we hear stories. So that's why I thought, I need to put some stories in this.
I love it. Let me switch gears really quickly and pull back the curtain. So you've been able to exit your business without really exiting, but I would love to hear, how did you really reach your audience and continue to reach your audience? Like, if you were to pull back the curtain of your business, what's the best marketing strategies or things that you've done that have really kind of catapulted your business?
Well, so as a coach, this is the hardest business I've ever started. Like being a coach and a speaker, mastermind leader, this is difficult. And you would think that, okay, well, a coach is great because every dollar of income, there's no overhead. Well, that's not true. I'm not going to reveal it, but I had a really good top line last year. My bottom line was less than what I made as a school teacher. because it just requires, there is a lot that goes into the production of this. So this has been a difficult business to start. So I got to say that kind of out of the gate. But because it's my purpose, I'm willing to suffer through that. I'm willing to push through the first few years of building a business that requires a lot of cash to produce and to market and to advertise and to get clients. And I do really amazing events for my mastermind. I spend a lot of money on these events. So now what do I do? Well, if you go back 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a Yellow Pages ad. You remember those things? Like if you didn't advertise in the Yellow Pages, you didn't have a business. And then if you pull back maybe 25, 30 years ago, you didn't have a business until you were, 25, 20 years ago. You have a website. You had to have a website. So if you didn't have a website, nobody knew who you were. And now today, it's social media presence. Like today, if you want to be in business, you've got to be doing short form video content, YouTube shorts, reels, TikTok, whatever it happens to be. You've got to be doing that because that's where people are consuming content and are being entertained and informed on the decisions they're going to be making. So for me, I have been consistently producing social media content for the last 3 years. I mean, like every day. As a matter of fact, I made a commitment at the beginning of this year that every single day for the first quarter of the year, I would shoot a video and then my team would edit and drop out. So I don't think I've missed any days, maybe one when I was on a trip and I just forgot to do it. But I'm doing that consistently because you have to do it. This is where we are in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. So very true. You have to be able to, the word's been used a lot, pivot and know where your clients are and then support them where they're at and then get them to where they need to be and where they desire to be. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that kind of journey with us. I know we need to start wrapping up a bit. There's a couple more questions that I want to ask you, but before we dive into those, what should our listeners take and next best steps and that sort of thing? I believe you have a gift for our audience. Could you share what that gift is?
Yeah. So one lucky listener to your show, Shay, is going to get a autographed copy of my book, Exit Without Exiting. I will ship it directly to you, assuming I can get it to you in the continental United States. I don't know how I would get it somewhere else, but I will get you. I don't know where Shay's audience is. Her audience might all be in New Zealand or Zimbabwe. I don't know how I would do that, but if you're in the continental United States, you're going to get a free copy of this. One of you get a free copy, and I guess Shay will share with you how to get access to the free copy.
Absolutely. So in the show notes, we will have a link for you to see if you are that lucky winner. Now, if they're not the lucky winner, how else do they stay in touch with you? And if they wanted to get their own book, where would they go?
Yeah, so everything, you can find me anywhere online at The Real Jason Duncan. So if you look anywhere on any social platform, just Google me, The Real Jason Duncan, you're going to find me. My website has a plethora of information about the book and about all my coaching programs, my podcast, speaking engagements, like I'm speaking at a TED event in April. So there's information about how, if you want to get tickets to go see me speak. Of course, this is not going to come out until after that happened, but I've got a couple other TED stages I'm going to be on later this year. Speaking at a big conference in Vegas this summer. So that's where you want to go. Go to therealjasonduncan.com. And I send out a newsletter. So if you sign up for anything, you get a newsletter every week, and it's great information about how to make profit, but do it with purpose. So it's called the Purpose and Profit Weekly. And a funny quick story, Shay, if I might, is that my newsletter goes out every Wednesday. So I've got a new intern. And so yesterday or day before yesterday, I was sitting down with him, showing him what I do to get my newsletter ready to go out and what tools I use. But I'd also been showing him how to use Chat GPT. Are you using this yet?
My God, it's a game changer. Y'all, if you are not using Chat GPT, I have one of my clients right now that is training it. Oh my God, her training's amazing. But yes, you deserve to be on that platform. Hands down. If you're in business, you deserve to be on that platform.
So I was showing him how to use it. And so what I did is I took my newsletter and I dropped it into Chat GPT and I said, rewrite this for me, just whatever. So it rewrote it and it was pretty good. And then I put in a prompt that said, now rewrite this in a voice not typical of AI. And it rephrases things. And he thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I said, oh yeah, you can do that. And you can even tell it to write it in the voice of any person. And so I dropped it back in there and I said, now rewrite this in the voice of Chris Rock. And it did, and it was hilarious. I started reading through it, and it was so funny. And I could hear Chris Rock's voice in my head as I was reading this thing. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. So my newsletter this week is in the voice of Chris Rock. I put Chris Rock's face on it, and I said, how to exit your business twice, according to Chris Rock. And then I told everybody how I did it with ChatGPT. And I don't know if people are laughing or deleted it, but I thought it was hilarious.
Oh my God, I love that. That's also a great way. Like if you know your niche market and you know that, I don't know, they love Marianne Williamson, or they love Chris Rock, or they, read Forbes magazine or something like that, you could utilize the tool to do it in those formats, just like you mentioned. That's huge. I love that.
Well, I'm going to be having, and this is a little plug for something I do, is I do something called the Entrepreneur Master Series. So twice a month, I do a live webinar, and I bring in an expert on some topic related to entrepreneurship. And it's free. It's completely free. You can do it. I live stream it on 4 different social platforms, plus it goes out on Zoom. But I am in the process of booking a ChatGPT expert to come in and do 90 minutes with me and my audience on how to use it and what some tricks and tips are. And while we were sitting here, I just saw my phone light up. One of the people I've reached out to, who has like 135,000 followers on Instagram right now, and is a ChatGPT guy, is messaged me back. So hopefully we'll be able to get that scheduled. So if you want to do that, that's it. Also at my website, therealjasonduncan.com/EMS, which stands for Entrepreneur Master Series. You can register. It's free.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, sadly, we have to wrap up. Before we do that, are there any last moment takeaways, memorable notes, anything that you would like to leave our audience with?
Anything the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That is a quote from Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. And my final parting advice or thoughts would be, do not underestimate the power of what you think. You have to actively pursue positive thoughts and actively reject negative thoughts, because your reality is exactly what you think. So if you think negative thoughts, if you're around negative people, what you think about, you bring about. So the only thing we have complete control over as human beings is the way we think. And so what you're thinking leads to your reality. So watch your thoughts.
Beautifully said. Thank you, JD, for being with us today. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take the lessons and the resources you learned here today. There were some just diamonds. So make sure that you continue to utilize them to create your own impact in the world. Until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.